3-1, 3-3, 3-10. 3-1, 3-3, 3-10. 15, 19, 22. 15. 19. $22, 24, 13, 26. 24. 13. Hello.
Hey guys,
Who's here?
it's Carlo, Rekka.
Carlo. Long time no see. It's Kelly.
Hey Kelly, how you doing?
I'm fine. Have you
Good.
been?
How's everyone doing around you? Your family, friends,
You know,
coworkers?
okay. We've had one scary COVID in the family and a few other COVIDs in the family. Otherwise, hanging in. How about you?
We've been pretty fortunate. I've been living with my father though, and that's been stressful for the last 11 months because my father's old school. He's 84 years old.
Yeah. Our scary
So,
COVID was a 98-year-old.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and tell him, Dad, don't go to New Rochelle, and of course he went. And Dad, please don't do this, and Dad, please don't do that.
It's so hard.
Yeah, and he was hospitalized twice, Kelly. He was hospitalized in April, and it wasn't for COVID, but that was the first thing that runs through your mind, of course.
Yeah.
And it had to do with internal bleeding. So he was there for like 5 nights, we'll say. And then, your mind starts racing and you
Yeah.
can't, the deal. I don't
I
need to
do.
tell you.
I do.
And then he was hospitalized again in October, 5 nights again. He had gotten a foot infection because he's diabetic, because he's got all the buttons in the world. And, you're thinking like he's not going to come out of this. And,
I know.
and I don't need to tell you, but life is great. We're still standing. We're still talking. You're smiling, which is awesome.
I'm smiling for now. So
Yeah.
Has your father been vaccinated now?
I was extremely fortunate because, the phrase, if you snooze, you lose.
Uh-huh.
So the first go around, he qualified. So I got up about 4:00 in the morning, got online and scored a grand slam. First day, first hour,
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I've been volunteering at the county center
Yeah.
with the vaccination effort. And I mean, it's incredible what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's really,
It's
really
flawless.
good.
It's flawless.
Yeah.
Kelly,
It's really good. Really good.
Yeah.
And they're, it's an honor to be part of it. Honestly, it's just, they're really running a good show.
And my sons are volunteering today down at the Bronx because if you volunteer, you get vaccinated.
Oh, not in Westchester.
Yeah, but in the Bronx or New York City, you do.
That's great.
And so I go Sunday again at 12:01 or right after. I'll get online because I've got another son who's got underlying issues, and hopefully they're claiming they're going to be appointments.
That's great.
We'll see. Otherwise, we'll go down to the city and
Good luck.
volunteer. Hello,
Yeah.
Tina.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Tina, I don't know if did we meet when I was going to a few rec committee meetings? You do look familiar. I think we did.
At once, yeah.
Okay. And here is Jeff Carpenter.
Hi,
How you doing, Jeff? How's it going?
doing good.
So, and I think Manny from Rec is coming also tonight. He's one of your new members.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Sally Cantwell is coming. And just heads up, this is a 1-hour meeting. It's not going to go beyond that.
This is the first meeting.
Yeah. Today is 2/11.
Hi, Sally.
Oh, Sally Cantwell is here. Okay. Sally, you're muted, I think.
My family like it that way.
Oh, you're so-
Mine too. Join the club.
There you go.
So does everyone know everyone?
No.
Okay, Sally, we have Carlo Carla Recca, we have Tina Maresca, we have Manny joining us later. And I think there's a bit of an echo, I'm sorry. And Sally and Jeff. Let me just start by saying this is the ad hoc year-round rec committee is a spin-off, a continuation of what was the ad hoc tennis committee, which dealt with the issue of the tennis courts at Harbor Island, which are in the winter bubbled and under a license agreement with Sport Time they had been under for years and years, and we've extended it a couple times trying to figure out what to do with them. I have put in the chat section of this Zoom the republished minutes from all the tennis committee meetings, which I think you'll find helpful to get up to speed, and the resolution creating this committee, which just spells out that we're looking at continuing, or what does the village want down at Harbor Island in terms of recreation? I can tell you that the Sport Time license agreement has basically paid for everything that's gone on at Harbor Island. It's brought in the past about $200,000 a year. This year it is online to bring in less than that. I think it's online for about 140, but it funds all our rec programs. I mean, it funds a lot. It funds a lot. So keeping those tennis courts operating in the winter is a revenue source, and it's very popular with our residents. Sport Time had talked years and years ago about moving those tennis courts to closer to the water treatment plant, where they're less an interference with the water view, and they're environmentally more friendly, and possibly doing some kind of multi-sport center that might have included indoor soccer fields, but something that would encompass more sports. So as we look at a deteriorating infrastructure at the tennis courts, and whether to keep just repairing and putting Band-Aids on them or rebuilding them, possibly somewhere else within Harbor Island, and possibly with additional recreation opportunities, this committee was formed to look at kind of a bigger picture and see what makes sense for the village. So with that, I'll let Sally and Jeff jump in and again try to kind of bring you guys up to speed, but talk about what this committee should do going forward to look at what the village wants in terms of year-round recreation. And by that, I mean just adding winter recreation too.
So I guess if I could start, that would be great, just to bring you up to date on why this all started. We sort of heard that the licensing agreement at Sport Time was not going to be renewed. And Jeff and I are avid tennis players. And our concern was that we would not have a place to play tennis. It had nothing to do with the fact that we play at Sport Time. It was just the fact that the village had only, I think, one other court somewhere else, and that we felt quite strongly that we wanted to. Oh, hello, George.
Woohoo!
Another celebrity
What a
appearance tonight.
star!
Pop in again.
You
Good
pop in
morning.
everywhere, George. How are you?
Welcome.
I tried to, Sally. I want to learn as much as I can about everything there is to learn. Hey, Carlo, how you doing?
George, how's it going?
I'm
You're
good. Everybody's
incredible.
safe and healthy, I hope. Tina?
Yes, you too.
Good to see you. Kelly?
Unbelievable.
Yes.
And I think Manny's just joined us as well. But George, I was just giving a background to the group about why it was important for Jeff and I in the very start of all of this to try and make sure that we kept our tennis in the village, because there was only one other court, and Larchmont has their Flint Park, and Town of Amerenac has their Memorial Park. So we just felt it was important to us. What we were not concerned about was who was running it, although we were very comfortable with Sport Time because we've had a relationship with them. But that was not why we started this whole process. It was just trying to ensure that we didn't lose something in our community, which we value. And I think if you look at it, there are kids in there from the age of 2 all the way through adults who are you know, up to the nearly the hundreds that are playing. And they still are, and now they've moved on to be playing pickle, which is better on there, much to Jeff's irritation. They're playing pickleball there, but it's, you know, it's being used, and I think during the COVID times, we see more and more people play, and I do know from talking to my tennis buddies that the only place they will go is Harbour Island because they feel safe. I have friends that have cancelled their programs out of Rye Racket, out of New Rochelle Racket, and will only play there. So I think that is great that we have that in our village, and you know, we're thankful that that the board were comfortable us, you know, with our recommendations, which was we should renew the license. However, you know, there's no doubt that longer term we need to come up with a plan because it's in a flood zone and we need to work out what the right thing is to do and how do we do it. So that's really why we started it and where we ended. And now I think Jeff and I, you know, it's like, you know, the years are running by. You know, yesterday I looked, it was October, and now I'm looking, it's February. And the agreement finishes, I think, at October 22.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to get done and to recommend. And so that's sort of the background, and why we are keen to continue is because I want to keep playing my tennis, because either that or I've got to find another way to upset my children by being around more. Jeff, is there anything you would add?
Well, yeah, thanks, Sally. Just one comment you made there that I thought was interesting, comparing it to what Kelly said earlier. Kelly, when you mentioned that revenue contribution to the village is down from 200K to 140K this year, my thought was that just must be because of the months that the club was totally closed. Because I'll tell you, as a player there right now, it is booming. And I think part of the reason is for what Kelly said, that they've done a great job at keeping a very safe environment. I hear, I mean, I don't know for sure that, you know, there's been like pretty much no COVID cases amongst the staff there, and that has not been the case at other tennis clubs in the area. So yeah, it's very busy, and I know just from trying to get court reservations, it's very busy. And then I was also just going to say that I thought it was interesting. I hadn't looked at stuff from our tennis committee in a while now. So right before this, I dug up the presentation, and it was almost exactly a year ago that we gave this to the board on February 10th. And I assume this is what's now Kelly has put online. And I think we all, myself included, should go back and reread it. But you know, it has a whole bunch of recommendations, but maybe kind of one of the key ones is this number 5 that Sally made reference to. And, you know, I think it's interesting how we worded it back then, right? That the current structure of the tennis courts in Harbour Island Park is not sustainable for the long term because they are in the rezoned FEMA flood zone. The ad hoc tennis committee has been advised that the courts should be moved and rebuilt to minimize damage to the facilities and associated environmental risks resulting from flooding. If this is true, the Village of Mamaroneck should initiate a study to determine possible alternate locations. If it is not accurate, the cost and feasibility of replacing the courts at their current location should be determined. Loss of the tennis courts cannot be an alternative. So I just think that, and then there's also details beneath that on the slide, but it just gets across the point that we were, you know, left at a stage where there was a lot of work to do. You know, we're not even, you know, we thought that there's need more analysis to be done to understand whether what we are hearing, that the course should be moved, is indeed, you know, the case. And I think, you know, my understanding is this committee kind of picks it up from there. And I would think we would need to make some progress on this to move forward.
That's exactly right, Jeff. And if I can just make a couple points. I believe the reason Sport Time is safer than other tennis clubs in terms of COVID is because they're in a bubble as opposed to a fixed structure. And my understanding is that because there is air required to support the bubble, the entire volume of air is exchanged every few minutes. So it is air circulating in a way that in a fixed structure club, air doesn't circulate. So the bubble has been particularly COVID safe. I know that the tennis committee, when it was meeting, met with our village engineer, Hernani. He has since left the village. We do not have an engineer right now, and we have lost our entire planning department. So in terms of talking to planners or engineers at this point, we don't have those resources as village staff at the moment. So I think this committee is going to have to carry kind of a bigger burden, trying to look into what's feasible, and our staff is on a very stretched schedule as it is. But if we can narrow down some questions that we need answered, and become very focused on it, I think we can try to move forward with getting questions answered about construction at Harbor Island behind the water treatment plant, which I think was the most feasible option at the time the tennis committee was meeting. But I'll let you guys run ahead with this.
Can I ask a question?
course.
Where exactly, because I'm also on the dog park committee, and it sounds like that's where we're putting the dog park.
Well, the dog park is a new discussion. And I think that could be a competing request. So that's something that we will just have to negotiate out.
Okay.
Behind the
Yeah.
sanitation facility, that's what's proposed?
Well, it right across the street from Toy Box. So in between the treatment plant and the fence of the baseball field that's on Post Road. Is that the same spot, or is it a different spot?
No, I think it's the same. I think we could show it to you. I think it's actually on the master plan that was created many years ago, that would show the exact location. Maybe if you could provide people with doggy daycare while they play tennis, we could do a deal.
But I've got a question. We've been talking about relocating that bubble to the treatment center area for many, many years. And it always got shot down because of expansion, which is always a possibility. Plus there was a flow pipe there, if I recall, that they said, absolutely not, it's not going to happen. Maybe things have changed. So I'm not certain if that's still the game plan, but it's always been shot down. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly or George.
Yeah, Carlo, I think this is why it's really important to read the minutes from the tennis committee meetings, which I put in the chat section. I don't know that Sally was able to find them. I hope you are. I tried again, so I hope you're able to
Yeah.
find them. But Sport Time did have a plan. They looked at this at one point, and
Right.
they had situated the multi-sport facility so that the pipe, the easement for the pipe, went under a portion of the facility that they could, when necessary, dig up without crazy disruption to their operations. So
Correct.
they worked around that in some way.
Okay. And speaking of the mass,
Carlo, let me just
yeah,
add
I'm sorry, George.
that the county has no plans at this point to expand the sewer treatment plant.
Right,
But we're always subject to mandates from the state and the feds.
right,
They could always come in and tell us we have to do things. You see, we're doing a New Rochelle right now. So
right.
there is the potential of that happening, but there is nothing foreseeable along those lines.
And the question I have, George, is if we construct it, I mean, it's a done deal if we decide to put it there, right? I mean, they can't come down and rip it apart and
The
remove
thing is, the thing is
tear
that
down.
it wouldn't be anything that we would do on our own initiative. If something were to happen, and this is, you have to go down the line and theorize. If the feds came in and said we had to make some major upgrades, they wouldn't do it just to Mammoth, they would do it to all the sewer treatment plants. Anything could happen. But again, it's not foreseeable. Now, that
Right.
doesn't mean in 7, 10, 15 years, I'm gone, you're gone from these responsibilities, and then some future thing comes up. But, we have no plans to do it. It's not a discussed thing. So if the village you own the land, we don't own the land.
Right,
You do as you see fit. And if and when, some crisis happens in the future, we'll deal with it then.
right. And I'm just thinking about the history because I've been on the board for years, for many a times over and over again. So that's my fear there.
It's an unknowable possibility. And so all I can tell you is there's no plans to do it. While I'm sitting in this desk, I'm a Mamaroneck friendly guy, so I'm not.
Absolutely.
What happens in the future, you have to still, you can't say never, because you never know what's going to happen
Okay.
in the future.
I think it was my understanding also from all the different, when we met with many different people. And the understanding was that Sport Time had been given the go ahead to do the work, and then it got pulled. So I think they had been successful. And I also understand, I think at some point they would pay the money, they would build it, and then they would it would be turned back to the village to be run by the village. The other thing they were doing is not just keeping it as tennis, but making it a multi facility sport, which I personally think in our village is something else that we miss. We only have
It's a grand slam.
and we only have hummocks. I don't know why when the swim tank was allowed, they didn't weren't made to let in residents use it as well. But anyway, that's another committee. But I just think that for our community, for the kids, I mean, people talk about, well, what about Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht? A lot of the kids in the flats who really could benefit from this are not going to walk. They're not going to walk to Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht. They're not going to walk. It's not fair to expect them to do that. But to go down to Harbour Island, I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think, when the tennis committee was meeting, our village manager, Jerry Barbario, and Jason Pinto from the rec committee, they were looking at it in terms of what was needed in the village in terms of winter recreation. What is needed here that isn't offered in our neighboring municipalities. And so that's where a broader view of year-round recreation comes in. And so I would anticipate reaching out to the soccer league and the Little League and see, is there a need, a desire for batting cages and indoor soccer and indoor lacrosse fields and that kind of thing that can be used for the village and that are desired, and that at the same time we can generate revenue so they will pay for it themselves. And I don't know whether Sport Time is still interested in this idea. But it might be something where if this committee comes up with a wish list and could put out an RFP that is a design build situation, asking people like Sport Time or other recreation facilities to come up with their design and build plans and see what they come up with.
Kelly?
Go ahead. Yeah.
And George, everyone knows this is a grand slam. You can make tons and tons of money. It will generate lots of money. Mount Vernon Sport basically has a bubble there as well. It's open 24/7. They make zillions of dollars. Armonk Tennis basically also does the same thing for soccer, on and on and on. So making money is definitely there. And I think he came down, Danny Frioli, does that ring a bell with you?
Not with me.
No?
Not with me, but
Because I think he made a presentation with Jerry or spoke to Jerry or Jason or someone. Because he basically is the one who invented that material and his son is running facilities.
okay.
I think he's building one up in somewhere up north. I think it's Peekskill maybe or somewhere. And I think he came and gave a presentation, or maybe they had a discussion. I just can't recall, because I know he was interested because I spoke to him probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So he'd be a good contact, and he can probably even give us schematics, or he may, easily, or has the right resources
That's
to go
terrific.
to. All right.
What I'm hoping that this committee can do tonight, and Sally was a great leader for our tennis committee, and she is completely up to speed, and Jeff is completely up to speed at this point. But what I'm hoping is that we can kind of plot out the questions that we need answered and divvy up responsibilities and move forward.
Okay.
Okay, this is just kind of an overview, planning what we'd like answered and then go about doing it.
So let me just, and you guys, I'm sure have heard of Taylor's Lane, and that's never going to happen. We had, and George was there many, many years ago.
Was.
We spoke about it at our rec committee, I don't know, maybe a year ago. But it's NIMBY, it's never going to happen there. So can we look at other parcels, or maybe, rather than the treatment center, like, where the blue room is, or where the Parks Department is. That's, where I'm talking about, Tina, right? Where Lanza Field is, shifting it alongside the water there. Would that be? Have you looked at other possibilities?
Looked at a lot of, I'm just getting off my video.
Looked at other
Whenever I have my video on, you can't hear me talk. We looked at a lot of different locations for the dog park. So one of them actually was Taylor's Lane. And Jerry told us that it's very, very close to being released, that we can use it. I mean, so
Right.
it could be a possibility. And then the other ones were probably too small. Like there was a
Right.
little piece of land, maybe it's like an acre, right along the road across from TD Bank that backs
Right.
up to Taylor's Lane property.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of Rushmore,
Right.
which I don't think that would be a go there either. And then Jason mentioned there was a smaller piece of land, like back in the flats, like in the industrial area. I don't know how big that piece of land was though.
But
So I don't know.
Jeff,
if that would be big
Jeff
enough,
and
but-
Sally, have you entertained the idea of like relocating in the other parts of the harbor, or like say Taylor's Lane will go? Have you explored that possibility? I'm just concerned about, the treatment center and what they've said in the past and what potentially can happen. And, we're just not going to go anywhere with this again.
Taylor's Lane was a no starter because that area, there wasn't enough space for parking cars. And I'm not an expert here, by the way, but the residents around there probably would never go for
Yeah.
having a large
Right.
number of people coming into the area, cars coming and going.
Yeah.
And then also, I thought there was some issue with how far you can go down when you build something in that area. I can't remember what it was. My wife, who's on the environmental committee, was familiar with that. I might ask her.
Yeah, it's penetrating the membrane that's there basically. And you can park easily. We came up with schematics 30 years ago. 30 park 30 cars along Taylor's Lane, 50 cars along Taylor's Lane. So I'm just thinking of alternative sites, within the village to build a structure of some kind.
Yeah, Carlo, I think that's spot on. And looking for any site that would accommodate this kind of facility, it's going to require a lot of, a number of square feet. It's going to require parking for a fair
Right.
number of people. I think the problem with moving it closer to the water is then you run into more environmental
Right.
regulations. So I think the idea of trying to move it away from the water was
Yeah.
better environmentally.
Yeah, because you can't keep it where it is, Sally, because people are screaming it's blocking the view historically, blah, blah, blah. But my concerns are, again, we've been toying with this for years about the treatment center. And it's going to be happening. My gut feeling is it'll be the same result. Can't do it, That's my gut feeling. And I can be totally wrong, and I hope I'm wrong,
Well, if that is the answer, then we need to come up with a tennis solution, I think,
Right.
because this is a popular, loved recreational activity that happily brings in money for the village. So,
Right.
I think keeping
What
it.
about
Go ahead.
what about Warren Avenue Park? Warren Avenue Park already has tennis court there. I know parking might be an issue, but I don't know if there's a way to solve that. Did you
Where
hear
is
me or no?
Warren Avenue?
Up Mamaroneck Avenue, after you pass the entrance to 95, you make a right. It's like it's a residential area, but there's a huge park there. There's basketball courts, there's a playground, there's a track, there's a little baseball field, and there's a tennis court.
It's a great park.
I had to go and have a look. I didn't know, And there was one, there's a,
If you look up Warren Avenue, if you turn onto Warren Avenue from Mamaroneck Avenue, it's all the way at the bottom. If you just keep going, it's like a dead end. And the other thing I was gonna say, Kelly, maybe you should talk to Jerry, because last night at our rec commission meeting,
Mhm.
we reviewed a contract that he was ready to, I guess, go into with an engineer to lay out the dog park
Okay,
in the place that you're talking about for
Yeah.
so I don't know if that needs to go on hold.
okay. Okay, Sally, Jeff, what do you see as the questions that need to be answered by this committee?
Doesn't it, I like the idea of doing a survey of what the community wants recreation wise. Doesn't seem like the first priority is to kind of figure out, start with the current tennis location and figure out what needs to be done, because until we have a location, a game plan, a location in mind for the recreational facility, it seems like it's tough to do much planning.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about a recreational facility, I'm just simply saying it'd be useful to know where it's going to be, right? I mean, what are we, what are we proposing? That seems to me to be a huge nut to crack to start this thing, because we did talk about, like I just read there, the possibility of that it turns out that maybe the environmental issues with the current location are not as bad as we were told, and maybe we don't need to move it. And then it'd be good to just get that out of the way up front and talk about what we're dealing with here, where we're doing this recreational planning, what is there now.
So you'd start with, if this, I mean, we heard from George to tell us that it's, they're in that there's a water treatment area plan. There is no plans currently, but that could always change at some point in time. So I guess the issue, the environmental concerns, and also the visual concerns of people looking, at that lovely bubble in the winter, is, blocks people's view. But maybe, the environment, it's the environmental concern, and then if there is no environmental concern, how do we fix it so that, Sport Time basically, for those that don't know, have a gentleman who almost lives there when it rains and snows, because he's trying to protect the bubbles and make sure the snow's off the bubbles. He's trying to make sure it's not leaking, and to, it's not red clay, it's red brick, but that, the runoff running into the sound. So, that we'd have to sort of put is an environmental concern, and then secondly, if it's not, is there money to be made to fix the courts, so that there doesn't need to be somebody that's on staff that's all they do when it's a rainy day or a snowy day.
Folks, I have to jump. Do forgive me. I put my phone number in the chat. If you need to follow up on any of these things, please feel free to call me, okay?
Thanks so
Always
much.
Thanks for giving me
It's
the
a
update.
pleasure, George. Stay well.
See you all soon. Bye-bye now.
So I've got a question. Keeping where it is, I mean, there's always a trade-off, okay? Going to treatment center, I feel, is not going to happen personally. Going to Taylor's Lane is not going to happen also, okay? There's no way. Going to Rushmore, where I've spoken many years and many times, nothing's going to happen there. If we're going to build a new structure, there's going to be new technology, all new sorts of materials and changes to what's existing if we're going to build a new structure. So we're not going to have any of those, like the runoff. I know years ago there was an issue, with the red clay going into the sound. They'll put in the proper filtration and so forth. And other than it being an eyesore, okay, for 6 months out of the year, we'll say, or 4 months, whatever the timetable is. And I used to clean the lines down there when I was probably 12 years old. So I think we just spend our time and energy just thinking about keeping where it is. And there'll be challenges, of course, where just like the softball lights, people were screaming that the lights were going up and I think it's there, and I don't think anyone's screaming about it being an eyesore, as much as they have in the past. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's probably the best site to keep it where it is.
I guess there's a question though, as if you keep it there, then it's tennis. I mean, it's not a bigger site. I don't think
Well-
expanding into a bigger site to put an indoor soccer
Yeah.
field there or something, I don't know
Well,
that that's
but-
ever been discussed.
Well,
Because
no, yeah, Kelly, and I
you're
understand
interfering
that.
with playing
It's-
fields, existing playing fields.
Right. It's the footprint, basically.
Mhm.
There's a trade-off, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Sally and Jeff. People were saying that the players have dropped off. I'm not sure if that's true or false. So rather than, I think there's currently 6 courts,
Yeah,
Right.
there's 8 courts.
8
And
courts.
to be honest, that's not at all true these days, right? And I'm
Okay.
not making any judgments here. I
No,
know
I
the-
believe
in
you.
other sports and maybe more people in there, but right now the place is booming.
Is
you know?
rocking.
And there are slower times of the day, like I'd say
Right.
around 1 or 2 o'clock,
Right.
on the weekdays.
Right.
But in fact, if you remember, of sport time, you can go online and look at their schedule and you
Right.
can see it.
Okay.
The court's booked up.
So my thought is, okay, and not that Carla has all the answers or far from it, but we keep the 8, we'll say, and Harbor Island, the parking area, okay, it's not a capacity at 100%. Only like when soccer sometimes, or when they have big festivals and so forth. And I'm just going to throw out a number. Maybe we take 25% from both sides. Maybe it's not an official. It doesn't have to be a soccer field. It can be half of a soccer field, and it can still be utilized for birthday parties, for practices, and so forth, age appropriate. Because like Tina, you can chime in. It's soccer at the early ages. On a soccer field, official size, say in Lanza, there's like 16 practicing, on that one particular field. So maybe that's a possibility, just expanding what we have. Just a
Yeah.
thought, not shaking.
And I think part of the footprint is not as well utilized for sure as it could be. And that is
Right.
that hard court that used to be used as the stadium court when we had the World Team Tennis here.
That used to be the
Yeah.
handball court.
Yeah. I remember you talking at the meeting about that.
Right.
Right. That could definitely be better utilized.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's my thought. So not that we have to go down that avenue, but I think it'd be less of a challenge to move it to any other part of the harbor or the community.
How often does it flood over there?
So what Claude Oakland said, it's written, when he came and spoke to us, was they currently flood 4 to 8 times a year, and 1 to 2 feet of flooding can occur. And during heavy rain, which I think is in the summer season, I think is the real problem, less so the winter season and snow. The facilities need to be manned 24 hours to address the potential flooding, like Sally was saying before.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, if you're planning to put a multi-sport surface, isn't that going to be destroyed every time it floods? Like, how is that even possible?
I think like Carla was saying, we have to look into, a modern facility and how it could be protected from the flooding. And actually, I mean, a lot of the focus of our discussion was just on the fact that it's red clay, which moves around more, not being very technical about it, than even green clay, hard true, so as beautiful as the red clay courts are to us tennis players and unique as they are, it's from a flooding perspective, it's probably about the worst tennis surface.
And Kelly, one more question for you,
Sure.
maybe to find out.
Yep.
Sometime last year, or maybe even the year before, we had a presentation at the Rec Commission of a couple of old women that wanted pickleball Yeah, they had agreed with them that they were supposed to build pickleball courts at Stanley Avenue Park, but that never happened. And I think they had the go ahead and everything.
Why did that not happen? I had heard that was going to happen.
I don't know. I mean, I thought everything was go, but it's not there. So I don't know. Maybe you could find out, Kelly.
I don't know. I don't know.
But here we go again, Kelly, you know, and Tina, I've been around for many years, you know, and it's just so frustrating, so disturbing. For example, the master plan down at Harbor Island, we've gone twice, and I sat on the second one, and we came up with all sorts of recommendations. I think, Tina, you remember, where is it? We made comparisons to it. And not one, not even one building or one walkway, nothing was done. And that's why I get so frustrated with, and no, Kelly, you guys
No,
are doing a great, you hear what I'm saying.
I
It's like a
totally
dog
hear what you're
park.
saying. Believe me,
dog
I share
park.
your frustration. I
Kelly,
share it. I think
A
this is
dog
nuts.
park. We've been talking about a dog park for 50 years, 100 years, and it never goes anywhere.
I know.
You know, Taylor's Lane, you know, Field for Kids. I mean, that's why I know a lot of the history.
No,
That's
and
why
the
the-
problem, frankly, with Taylor's Lane is that, you know, the residents who live there want it to be like a walking path.
Yeah,
That's it, a
NIMBY.
walking path.
I hear you. I hear you. And it's not going to happen there, Kelly. But all I'm saying is, me to get water on the fields, okay, the spray ground. I can go on and on and on. And you know, I'm like, why do I even sit on these committees? Because the end result is 99% of the times nothing gets done.
All right.
From
Does
my perspective.
anyone, Sally, do you, Carlo, have, do you have the sport time plans? Did those ever come out in the tennis committee? Like their like blueprint plans for what they had originally proposed?
I don't.
Do you have those, Sally?
Yeah, we have them.
You do. Great.
I have a hard copy right here.
Let's get those. Let's make sure Jerry has those. Because I think one of the things, Tina, you asked about how a multi-sport field would work. I think it was going to be indoors.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was going to be indoors. That's how it was going to avoid the environmental runoff issues. It was going to be
Well, right,
indoors.
but if it floods, is the problem. So if it floods, even though it's indoor, it's still going to ruin the surface.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's different. I don't think the flood problem is necessarily coming from the ground up. I think it's coming from rainwater down.
Well, I think there's a water table there, Kelly, also personally. I mean,
Yes.
you know, it is the rain, but there's also a water table
Yeah.
that we've always, because you know what that's sitting on? It's all the subway debris that was, from New York City that was dumped there, okay, in wetlands, you know,
Yeah.
many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you can see, you know, again, the grade there, we went through the exercise of grading it. I don't know what it was. Joe Lanza, I think it was. And it was perfect then. And now, you know, it's shifting because what's underneath, the debris just keeps moving, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and who knows if anyone would want to do the kind of deal that Sport Time was talking about 10 years
Right.
ago. Who knows if they
Right.
would want to do that today?
right.
Who knows?
Right.
I mean, I
Right.
don't know. And I think COVID changed everything. God knows what people want to do now.
Yeah.
But I don't want anyone to overlook the fact that those tennis courts bring in a lot of money, and the rec department doesn't pay for itself. It doesn't.
But-
And go
But
ahead.
Kelly, does that money go to the rec department or does that money go to the general fund?
It goes to the general fund.
Right. And then you just allocate it accordingly.
Right.
Similar to like the rec committee, you know, rec fees, sorry, Tina, that, you know, I started years ago. I thought I wanted it personally earmarked for the harbor for enhancements. And the same with the flagpole, because the flagpole, we make a ton of money now. I think it's like, well, back then it was like 50, 60,000, probably double now. But it goes into a general fund where the
Yeah.
money is, you know, and it runs, you know, all the programs.
Yeah.
So when you tell me it's for the harbor, I'm like, I think it goes to
I-
general fund.
hey,
and then it
I'd be
gets
happy if-
distributed.
I'd be happy for it to be earmarked, but it doesn't
Right.
really matter. I mean,
Right. Right. It gets,
Um,
things get paid.
all right. I think we have 20 minutes. One bit of housekeeping that I need to do before I turn it over to the rest of you to kind of set the agenda for the next meeting is we right now have 2 members of this committee. It's Sally and Jeff. If you want to be on this committee, you need to send an email to Sally Roberts saying that you want to be on this committee, and then we need to appoint you, and you need to do a separate oath and all of that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So that's all I need to say. So what do we think we need to do besides environmental concerns, visual concerns? I want,
Environmental one is the biggest one for me. I think that would be
Yeah.
would tell us a lot about whether that's really an issue or not. And Hernande, when he was talking, didn't seem to think it was as big an issue. Do you remember, Jeff? He was, he didn't think it was, but now he's no longer with us.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that's because if it, as you say, Carlo, that if it's not really an issue, why are we trying to change something? But and if we're not trying to change something, then we need to work out how we can get the best deal from sport time. And if it's not sport time, who are, I think they're expecting that there would be an RFP, and it just takes time to do our RFPs. It's not something that happens overnight to do. So maybe that would be the answer, to see if there's anybody else that would. I'm sure maybe there will be, but just don't know.
Yeah.
Do we have
Well-
any budget to get an assessment? Independent type of assessment?
no,
No, okay.
no, but it's something right now, because we don't have a village engineer, all of our engineering work is being done by a consulting firm.
Hmm.
And it would, I don't know what the assessment would be. Would it be, can we rebuild these tennis courts? Can we move these tennis courts somewhere else and build them there? I don't even know what we'd be asking for.
I think it's asking if it's really on a flood zone, and is it really in a flood zone that's going to cause severe, if we had another Sandy come through, would it cause another, as a severe an issue as it did then? I mean, was that really a reality, or was it just a hurricane that was the problem?
Okay.
And I think from there, I do think, as we heard, as Jeff said, it's not clay, it's brick. It's probably the worst material, and those courts, really the drainage is not great, and that would need to be paid for and sorted out. But maybe that's something that you add into a RFP, and they, you give them an extra couple of years to cover their costs on it, or something like that. But there has to be, some way of negotiating that piece into it. Manny, you're keeping very quiet.
I'm just trying to take it all in, because like a lot of you have been doing this for years, so I'm just trying to like piece together and figure out what would kind of be best.
Hi,
But I
Manny.
think,
and
hi.
I'm sorry. And I just wanted to point out to you that I think in the chat section of this
Yeah.
Zoom.
I've been reading like the minutes that you
Great,
sent.
great,
so I've
great.
been going through
I
those,
just wanted you to know they were there.
yeah.
okay.
So I've been like, while you guys are speaking, like I'm reading through, and my opinion is, like somebody mentioned, like maybe do a survey to kind of see like what the community would kind of want. But I'm kind of with Carl. Like I think a multi-sport thing would kind of be the best, because as you know, like we have the soccer fields, we have the baseball fields, and one thing that I'm passionate about was basketball. I just know like
Yes.
there's no indoor basketball at all for anybody to play at. So to me, if it's a multi-sport, like yeah, soccer at an indoor soccer field would be great, but I think it should be an indoor tennis and an indoor basketball, because those are two things that obviously the community lacks. We need the tennis, and I think we need to have something more with basketball.
And basketball doesn't take that many square feet.
Exactly. Yeah. So
It's not like a soccer field.
exactly, like it's something we can, if we, like Carlos said, if we take 25% from each side, we could put 2 basketball courts, and and if we want to split them in half, that's that's double that if we had one. But I think an indoor basketball is something that we definitely need, and like that's the one thing I think we should try to get out of this, if we do something with a multi-sport.
Okay.
I would love to have a swimming pool. That would be my
And if you go for, so if we're going for 3, then my big thing would be, the 3 would be tennis, basketball, swimming, because as you know, swimming, where in the flats can you go swimming besides swimming in Harbor Island? The town has obviously hammocks. What do we have to swim? We have the spray ground. We don't really have an indoor kind of swimming thing, which is something that I think that's a reach. I don't think we would be able to do a swimming pool down there, but I think we definitely can kind of get, if we can try to do it, I think that's something we go for.
Do you think that the hummock swimming pool, or swimming pools, if you include the outdoor one, do you think they are insufficient for the village to use?
Absolutely. Who from the flats is going to walk from, I live on Old White Plains Road, from here to the hammocks to swim, and then how accessible is that really for them to kind of get there and swim? you know, what kind of memberships do they need? What kind of fees do they have to pay? I just don't think that's as accessible to, you know, the people in the flats as, you know, we would like.
And
And-
besides that, it's way overused. There's
Yeah.
so many different groups that use it, and
Yeah.
in the summertime for camp, absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
Jason
like
can
you
tell
can't get there. Yeah, you can't get there at all. So like we had our own kind of, not saying a large scale as hammocks, like a pool like that. We had our own kind of thing. You know, we can have our village camp use it, you know, and then, you know, we have more space for like, you know, the
Mhm.
community members to kind of go there and swim.
Yes, I think the Sport Times plan, it originally had a swimming pool there. It did.
Is
Go ahead,
there
Tina.
any other properties in the village? Okay. Is there any other properties in the village that are bigger? Or like, I just feel like that space is, I mean, it's a nice space, but if there was something bigger, I think no matter how big you make it, it's going to be overused because there's so much demand for soccer, for basketball, for any,
That's the
like
problem in the village. There is not land.
every.
But when you drive past, when you go down the industrial piece of the flats, you know, and there are all these, you know, I see these car parks that full of cars that are sitting there parked because they've got nowhere else to go. You know, I just wish we could sort of build something there, you know, because it would just be much more useful than seeing it be full of Toyota cars. But that.
But
And that little, have you ever seen this squash court that's back? I mean, Jeff last year showed me the
there's
squash
hidden
court.
back
That's
there.
an amazing facility.
yeah, yeah, and that's where they want to put Department of Public Works, right, Kelly?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's been discussed for many, many years, you know, that industrial area, that whole strip there. And it's a great thought, Sally. I mean, if you look at Rye and you look at Lake Isle, you know, Eastchester and so forth, and Harrison, they've got community pools and they have, you know, recreational facilities for children, okay? And I've always said, listen, I think if we put it to the vote for the community and it costs everyone, say, $1,000, whatever the cost factor may be, a lot of people would buy into it because think about your property values. It would go up, basically. You know, everyone would benefit from it. I think that's my thought. And that's how I would approach it because even we had spoken about, was it Hampshire back there? You know, taking over part of, you know, buying some of their structures or the pool that's existing. The courts are there. The court, it's all there, you know, and it just coming up with the money. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's always coming up with the funding, you know. And from Aaron, sorry, Kelly, we don't like to spend money. I mean, I can tell you about the police department, okay? The building there. We just don't like to spend money. It's always a Band-Aid. It's always like the dike. Let's plug it. It's never like a tear down. Let's build a new facility.
I
And
know.
you mean, and again, it's just like your own house. This is how I would treat it. After 3 layers of shingles, you have to remove it in order to, you know, to do the right thing. And sorry, I mean, I don't mean to be negative, but I'm just being truthful and honest. And I wish to God the mentality would change. And it has changed. There's no doubt in my mind. It's much better than where it was. I mean, and you know, for example, Jerry in my book is phenomenal because like fees, I've been talking about fees because there was never a comparison. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tina. And he says, we have no idea what the surrounding communities are charging. What if it's tennis, a beach pass, and within 3 months, Tina, or whatever it was, 6 months, boom! I was like, holy shit! Excuse my French. I was floored.
And Jason has to take some of that credit.
Right. I mean, they honestly did their job. And going to a basketball court, Manny, I'm a big time basketball guy.
Yeah.
And if you look at like Stanley Avenue Park, you look at Columbus Park, you look at Daniel Warren and Jefferson,
Yeah.
what do they all have in common? They have a basketball court.
Mhm.
Down at Harbor Island, we used to have one many years ago. And I've been telling them, excuse me, we need a court at Harbor Island.
Yeah.
Okay, for our camps, for the general public. I donated, okay, because my kids got older, one of those portable ones for the camp. But to try to get a court at Harbor Island, which would be utilized a lot.
I think a
And
lot.
the-
And if we can make it an indoor court, like that'd be,
Well,
you know,
well,
even
that
better.
too, but I'm just talking about things, you know, we
It's
talk,
another,
talk,
you know,
talk.
another
There's
form of
just-
recreation.
Right, it's just, we spin our wheels.
But there's no reason there shouldn't be an outdoor there. Like an outdoor court down there should be something simple. Like there's no reason it
Right.
shouldn't be.
Yeah, it doesn't take up that much space to
A
kind of
half
have an
a
outdoor
court.
court there.
Half a
Yeah, even if
court.
it's half court, that's like,
Right,
Right.
that's nothing.
and our kids can utilize it, you know, our
But-
campers and our children.
But I
So-
don't, I think that if you talk to Carlos Campo from Sport Time and sort of said, you know, has the village, I think he's, you know, he's more than happy to have the village go and talk to him and sort of say,
Yeah.
"Can we use that hard court there, what can we add to that hard court?" But that
So-
hard court needs to be redone
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But Sally, listen, you know, and I'm sorry, okay? Because I always speak the truth, and I've been involved. Claude Akins, okay, when we went, Tina, correct me if I'm wrong, when our kids, our campers, I said, excuse me, he's over there. We should have the children be able to go there for a tennis lesson or utilize the courts during the day when it's, you know, it's available. Yeah. It was written up. Everyone signed off on it. I think it was a year or two, and then it came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, because the village said we're gonna pull your contract and kick you out of Harbor Island.
That was after the fact, but for years, it didn't take place, Kelly.
Well, I will tell you that Sport Time has been giving free rackets for kids to use. They
Right,
have really
right,
stepped up.
recently.
In the last 2
recently.
years, it has changed and it has
right.
been, and they have had a sliding
Yeah.
scale and they've had scholarships and they have had kids that they have
Understood.
completely paid their way.
Guess who brought it to the light to the recreational committee? Yours truly, because they forgot. Okay?
Yep.
So now he's on board.
Well, thank
So
you, but we're making progress.
right, absolutely. So I'm hoping that, you know, that we continue and then we just don't kick the can down the road all the time, you know?
Well, this is the problem. We have a deadline of October of 22 where Sport Time is going to be out of there.
Right.
And it is going to be this time next year that Sport Time is either looking to renew its seasonal contracts or get out. So we really need to start thinking about this, coming up with a plan and deciding what the village wants to do.
Does anybody have any of the former plans? Like what were like the concepts? Like what are
That's
those?
what I was asking Sally if she had, and she thinks she
Yeah.
has the original, what Sport Time had proposed years ago.
Yeah, because I would like to see that and see if, you know, maybe something like that is feasible to do now, or it's like, can we change some of the things that were in that plan and implement that? Like, I just want to know. Yeah.
The issue,
So-
the issue would also be, you know, that was something that Sport Time was also going to fund. Now
Yes.
the question in COVID is whether they can afford to fund it, you know, and whether they're willing. I mean, who knows? I mean, I've
But
not had that conversation.
It's a
with-
good starting point though, you know, I mean, the plans are there already, similar to the master plans. They're there. Now they're just collecting dust. Maybe you have to modify them, change them, tweak them, add some, delete some. And it shouldn't be that difficult or time consuming or costly. Because if you start from scratch, it's going to be extremely costly, you know?
Yeah, Sally, so could you share those before we have our next meeting?
Sure.
That'd be great.
No,
Just a
I mean,
thought.
the master plan I thought was very well thought. I mean, it had a huge amount of people, you know, that were involved in it in every different aspect, whether it was the basketball, the soccer, the tennis. I mean, it had all the community members, and it just parts of it got approved, and then all of a sudden, as you say, Tina, it just and Carla, it doesn't go anywhere. It just stops. And I think
Right.
that frustration. You know, I remember walking to Sport Time, and then one of their new guys who's no longer there was like, "We're going to do this," and then a week later, it was like, "We're not doing this." It sort of gets
Right.
pulled. The rug gets pulled under them quite frequently.
And it'd
What
be
was
great
the
for
last
the,
master plan, by the way? I've been trying to read up and see all this stuff. I'm pretty sure like one of them was 2006 or something like that. Was there one after that?
I think so. Yeah, the one I have here says December 20th, 2016.
Got it. Yeah.
no,
I
that's
have
not,
all what was handed out. I'm not sure I have
You know what?
soft copies of
There
I think it was
There
before
was
that.
a Harbor Island master plan that was discussed. It was never adopted by the Board of Trustees, but feel free to spread it around. It's at least other people's research and thoughts that we can use as a springboard to talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just would be a great addition to the community as a whole, for
Jeff,
everyone.
Jeff, could you circulate that?
Yeah, I mean, I can scan this one, and I think Sally, right, they might have handed out an earlier one too. I'll take a look in my folder.
I think the latest one would just be great. We're
Okay.
just looking for some starting points of where to talk.
Okay,
The
yeah, I'll
baseline.
scan this and send it around.
That'd be great, because I'm not home for a couple of weeks, so
Good for you.
I know I just had to run away, just had enough.
And yet-
Solo,
No,
kids in tow.
no, solo. I never get sad. I've even got the dog.
Okay.
All right, should we talk about a next meeting before we wrap up tonight? And I usually do not run these things, like Sally, I've stepped all over your toes tonight and I apologize.
Oh, feel free. Do
I
not
just-
worry.
I just want to kind of use this as a kickoff to get us going and to talk about, just have an idea of what we're thinking about, the questions we need answered. Maybe next time we can delegate some things and really assign some work to do in preparation for the third meeting. But when would everyone like to meet again? We are in budget season, so I will tell you, I have meetings constantly. And when I'm not meeting at nighttime, I am volunteering at the county center during the daytime. So you might find me cranky, but I will, and the staff will not do these Zooms. So it's up to my generosity to
I guess we work with your timetable, Kelly.
I
What
see
works for you?
Smiling. So I'm just wondering, do you want to meet in 2 weeks? Do you want to meet in 3 weeks? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking 2 weeks, because I think if we can get the master plan out,
Yep.
And I think the steps off that will say, can we, revise the master plan? What needs to be, tweaked? And if there's a way of finding out about is there really an environmental concern? I think those, and then
Okay.
we've also got the sport time master plan. So those are sort of, to me, and then one can do a survey, a community survey, but I don't know if people are into doing, I don't know, it would be useful, but how many people will reply?
I think it's worth it to just do it. Like, even if we don't get a lot of responses, just in case, it's always good to have that data to kind of say, like, this is what everybody kind of wants.
So then we've got four areas then to look at. I think that it's reviewing the master plan, the sport time master plan, the environmental concerns, and from all of that, could we put out something to the community to say, is this something that they're even interested in? What would they, we'd love to have a wish list, but we're not necessarily going to have a wish list. Then you've got the shorter term things of what could we do now? Could we put a basketball court somewhere? Put a net up somewhere and let the kids, use it. I mean, if I live behind Hommocks, and I tell you, those ones in Hommocks are packed, and there are coaches down there with kids, and they have they have 2 sets, but kids tend to keep to one of the 4 as a group, and it's good to see them busy. And you know what, in this country everybody wants the perfect weather, but you know what, in England we go out and you go and play, unless it's snowing, or which seems to be happening more over there because of global warming, but we don't have global warming. So it's sort of, if you put a court up there, how could you encourage the young to go down and just hang out and play, which is what
They will.
they need.
They
to
will.
Give us a court. They will show up.
They'll be there.
Okay, let me tell you that when I look at 2 weeks from now, if that's the week of the 22nd through the 26th, I have budget meetings on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Does someone want to do a meeting on Thursday, the 25th? Or do we want to pop it to the next week? Or do we want to just, what do we think?
I can do Thursday.
I could do Thursday.
Okay,
Likewise.
Could do Thursday.
It's this time at 7 o'clock. I have another meeting.
okay, so at 5:30 on Thursday, does that work for everybody?
Yep.
Jeff, I know you might have a Thursday at 6:30, right?
That's right. So I'll do back-to-back
Oh,
any
You're
meetings.
good. You're good.
This is the problem of Zoom land, is that I have not left my seat. Or I think I went out for a walk and came back, and now I've got to get on another one.
I'm sorry, Sally, I'm really
No.
sorry.
It just never
Okay.
ends. But
So
that's-
I will let Sally Roberts know if you guys could go ahead and do the formal work to get yourselves appointed. That'd be great. Hopefully we will appoint you on Monday, the 22nd. You can do your oaths and all of that. And let's work on getting a survey done so that we can send it to Robert, who is our communications person now at the village, and he can do an email blast and he can put it, on the websites. But let's just work on an easy survey that we can send out to the village and ask what kind of recreational opportunities people want, either for winter or, indoor activities, or for summer, or both, just kind of get a wish list going for village residents.
Got it.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Sounds
Also
great.
for the email to Sally, should I mean, I sent her an email just saying like, hey, I'd like to be appointed. Is that good enough, or what more
That's
should I
fine.
add?
That's plenty.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so I sent that already.
Yeah, great. And Carlo, have
What?
you, can you just send a quick email to Sally
I
Roberts?
think
Yeah, I did.
I-
I did.
I-
This,
I saw Tina's. I didn't see Manny's or Carlos.
I'll definitely follow up. but I think I
I'll
did.
forward it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just
More
Sally
people-
Roberts.
Yeah,
or
Sally Roberts.
Right.
the other Sally,
the
as
other-
we call each other. We're
Yeah.
the real Sallys, not the Sarahs. Anyway, I have to hop and go and talk to 10th grade orientation. Lucky me.
Lucky you. Goodbye, Sally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to see everybody.
Good
All
night,
right,
everyone.
everybody.
Stay
Bye.
well.
Yeah, right.
Are we good to adjourn?
Hey, can I just quickly ask to get ourselves to take the oath? Last time around, I think I was sent something and I had to, should I do anything on my end to get
Haven't
the,
been sent that?
no,
Then you know what? Let's just let Sally Roberts deal with that. Because we're an ad hoc committee, not everything applies to us. And I think easier is better. If we
Okay.
can just be easier.
Less stressful.
Totally less stressful. I really, like the open meetings law does not apply to us. It just takes, it's just a relief, it just takes some stress off.
Yeah. In
We're all,
today's world,
you're volunteers, and anything we get from you is icing on the cake, if you ask me.
especially in today's world,
Yeah.
less stress is better.
So I thank you for your time. Let's just try to figure out what's best for the village here and come up with some recommendations. That's all we can ask.
that's great.
Great.
Carlo, if I remember correctly, a year and a half ago, when you spoke at the meeting, you
Uh-oh.
talked about how you had some great stories about taking your bicycle down Mamaroneck Avenue to sweep the courts or something like that.
Yeah.
You said you would tell anybody who hung around later, and I wanted to connect, but I never heard it. So I still want to hear those stories.
Well, yeah, I used the mini bike
Yeah.
with Mr. DeRosa. He lives on Stanley, used to live on Stanley. His son built fields and so forth. So I used to go down there with a broom, and I said, Mr. DeRosa, we could do a lot more with a mini bike, and tie the broom around my waistline. And he says, let's try. So we did. And he used to have a station wagon that he built like a little holder, and every morning about 4 o'clock, he'd, be waiting outside. He'd be driving by with his car, and off we went. Oriental,
All right. I'm
Harbor.
really sorry. I'm going to ask that we continue this next
Okay.
time.
More.
I've been-
There's
I'll
more.
have to wait for the rest.
If I wasn't hosting the meeting, I would
Stay
say.
well, guys.
continue on.
Everyone
See
stay
ya.
well.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.